Hey guys, it's Elizabeth, Finding Elizabeth, and I think this may be my first on becoming video where I'm talking more about the, psychological, emotional, spiritual components to really just life, but of course I'm going to talk about it in the context of weight loss. If you guys don't know me, I'm 50 years old. I've lost 200 pounds over the last few years, and when I started this channel, I called it Finding Elizabeth, and now I sort of say I found her. Her name is Liz, and now I'm sort of figuring out how to live my life in a way that is, as happy, joyful, open, and loving as I can, and I just wanted to share some of that journey with you guys. So one of the things that I have been thinking about lately is this idea of being open versus being closed, protecting yourself. And I know this isn't true for everybody, but for me, I really do believe that weight was a way that I protected myself from things I didn't trust myself with, which were basically relationships. So although I struggled with my weight my whole life, even when I was much smaller than I am now, I thought I was overweight. I didn't become what Les of Sarah calls circus freak fat until after my son was born and his dad and I separated. And I really think that part of the reason for that was because I grew up with my mom very often putting men above her kids. And so that was something that I was terrified. I was honestly terrified I was going to do. And I think when I was put into a situation where I wasn't with someone and there was possibility for that, I think part of my weight gain came from my fear that I wouldn't be able to say no, and I didn't trust myself not to put men above my kids, which is something that I'm a little judgy about and didn't want to do. So I put on, I think I was like 220 when I got pregnant. I was 250 when I had my son. I got down to like right around, I got back to my pre-pregnancy weight pretty fast, but then went from 220 to 400 pounds, probably from the time my son was born and by the time he was 10 or 9, maybe even, I don't know. But that's a lot of weight, and I think I did that to protect myself. And I also think that one of the reasons I didn't have weight loss surgery until I did, which was when he was just a few months from leaving for college, even though my very first consult was when he was a baby, also played into that fear. Not trusting myself to make good choices, and I really was adamant that I was not going to be a woman who did that. I mean, although I dated people occasionally, when he was little, until last year, a man had not spent the night at my house other than his dad his entire life. And by the time last year happened, it wasn't his house anymore, so to speak. So it was just not something that I felt okay about and had all these thoughts in my head about it. So I think that kind of protection from those kind of relationships is something that I really used weight for. So then what happened? So then you lose weight, and all kinds of relationships are a possibility. And I think this year, more than any other year, I've deepened my relationships on every level. And in doing so, had to open myself up and become a lot more vulnerable. And I just finished my holiday letter a few hours ago, so I can get my holiday cards out finally. And the theme of this letter was sort of around love. And I'm just going to read you a little piece of it because it sort of frames my idea and a book and other things I'm going to talk about. Sorry, I hope this isn't boring to people. I'm going to try to go fast. So this is part of what I say in my letter. So I said, in last year's letter, I dubbed 2015 the year my life didn't suck. As I started to think about 2016, I wonder what I would call this year. It wasn't the blissed out joy fest that last year was. There were very real challenges this year for me, my family, and some of my closest friends. But what I realized was that the sadness that resulted from some of these lows was brought to the surface because of how much love there is in my life now. Unfortunately, I spent so much of my life isolated by the 200 extra pounds I no longer carry, and by this huge fear that loving and knowing people would hurt so much more than keeping my distance. And here's what I learned. Loving people does hurt. It hurts when things don't work out the way you want them to. It hurts when you have to watch people you love struggle emotionally and physically. It hurts when you are vulnerable with people and let them know the real you. But that sadness and confusion and struggle is worth it, because you don't get the joy and the love and the laughter and the intimacy if you can't get past your fear and be open to possible pain. And I really, truly believe that. Many of you have followed me this year and seen lots of teary videos. But on the other side of it, I'm okay. I'm good. And I really did open myself in a lot of ways this year. So I went to Chicago last weekend, and I mentioned this in my update video. I don't know what it was about that trip, but it opened up a lot of stuff in me that I didn't feel good about and I wasn't comfortable with, and just kind of left me emotionally feeling weird. I was sick, physically sick when I came home. Not from the emotional stuff. Well, who knows? Maybe from the emotional stuff. But whatever. I was physically sick. I started feeling better Tuesday morning. But in my head, I was not in a good place. And I was angry. I was questioning myself. I was like, why? I was berating myself for things. I was like, why are you feeling this way? Why are you thinking about this? Why are you such a bitch? Why, whatever. And so yesterday morning I decided I needed to get out of that. And part of what I needed to do was get back to my regular routine. And I knew that one thing I could do that would help with that would be to go run, even though I didn't want to go run. And I wasn't feeling 100%, but I did it. And one of the things when I run, I'm running on a treadmill at the gym, and I have my Kindle with me. And it's usually when I read my, my books that are spiritual or psychological or whatever, the things that are, because that's like the one time when I'm running where my mind is not, I'm not being pulled by the phone or the email or the whatever. So the book that I'm reading right now is called The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself. And I just have to tell you, I don't think it's like a lot of metaphysical mumbo jumbo. I think it's more just about your thoughts, and I'll share a little bit of it with you. But Amy downloaded a sample, and it just cracked me up because she read the sample and she's like, I'm rolling my eyes so hard it's giving me a headache. Well, she's a rocket scientist, but I'm a mumbo jumbo metaphysical person. But I think I may have convinced her to go and check it out. But so anyway, I'm running. I'm feeling better. I decided not to stay closed up in this house, to go out and do that. And the chapter that I happen to open to on this book is called Transcending the Tendency to Close. And it talks about the idea of how we protect ourselves. And I'm going to read a little bit. And I'm sorry, you guys probably hate it when people read to you in videos. But that's what I'm going to do because it's my video and I can do what I want. The problem is that part of you that gets disturbed by something that happens emotionally or in your life, it's so sensitive that the slightest little thing causes you to overreact. Because we've developed this hypersensitive psyche, we constantly use our energies to close around it and protect ourselves. But this process only hides the problems. It doesn't fix them. You're locking your illness inside yourself, and it will only get worse. You will get to a point in your growth where you understand that if you protect yourself, you will never be free. It's that simple. Because you're scared, you have locked yourself within your house and pulled down all the shades. Now it's dark and you want to feel the sunlight, but you can't. It's impossible. If you close and protect yourself, you're locking that scared, insecure person within your heart. You will never be free that way. And ultimately, if you protect yourself perfectly, you will never grow. All your habits and idiosyncrasies will stay the same. Life becomes stagnant when people protect themselves and their stored issues. So that's what I feel like I personally was doing forever. And I was doing it yesterday. I'm much better about it now. I mean, I meditate and pray and journal daily. I think and read and mull the stuff around in my mind, partly because I have time to. I mean, I don't have little kids. My life is a little bit more flexible. But what I realized was these thoughts that I had in Chicago, instead of just letting them flow through me, letting me feel them and feel the emotions around them, I was blocking that all up. I wanted to sleep. I wanted to stay in my house. I wanted to shut down, and I wanted to berate myself for the feelings I was having instead of just let them process through me. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking about today. I'm curious to know how you guys have protected yourself, and if you feel like that's been changed by your weight loss. I'm trying to find one thing. This is just like a suggestion from the book about what to do, because I'm like, okay, so what do I do now that I'm feeling these things that I don't like? I'm closing down on myself. I'm wanting to shut off the thoughts about it. And this part of the book says spiritual growth is about the point at which you start to feel your energy change. For instance, somebody says something and you start to feel the energy get a little strange inside. You will actually start to feel a tightening. That's your cue that it's time to grow. It's not time to defend yourself, because you don't want the part of you that you would be defending. If you don't want it, let it go. And letting it go to me means feeling the feelings that are around that, which means that I've cried a lot the last couple of days over things that logically don't necessarily make sense to me, but it's okay, because that's part of my process of letting go. So anyway, in these unbecoming videos, I just want to sort of share with you what I'm going through in my head and the books and tools and resources that I'm using to try to deal with them. So that's what I got today. Let me know what you think, if you have comments on this, how you feel that this may have shown up in your life, that kind of stuff. All right? Love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.